If you've ever felt overwhelmed by nutrition in the name of being healthy, you're not alone, and it's not your fault. Last week, Stuart Gillespie detailed how the global food industry manipulates, distracts, and deflects in order to extract the most profit possible from consumers. His book, Food Fight: From Plunder and Profit to People and Planet, explains the shift from food being viewed as a necessity to a commodity, and how it's played a detrimental role in the health of humanity. Luckily, it's not all bad news. Gillespie's outlined a framework that he believes can put us back on track, which he refers to as the 4 Ins. The first is institutions, which calls on governments to focus on providing healthy foods for government agencies, hospitals, schools, and other public establishments, ideally partnering with local farmers. The second branch is incentives, because it's rare that people will go against the status quo just because it's the right thing to do.
Whereby we look at those massive agricultural subsidies, reform them so they're not just prioritizing staple foods, but they also prioritize healthy fruit and vegetables, for example. Taxing harmful substances, not just sodas, potentially going beyond that, looking at different criteria for taxing harmful subsidies, but really importantly, using some of the dividend you get from those taxes to incentivize or improve the access and affordability of healthy diets for low-income families. So you're kind of leveling the kind of playing field, if you like, or the food environment.
And then, to help consumers make knowledgeable decisions, the third factor is information. This includes how products are labeled and where that labeling is placed.
Great experience in Latin America with the black octagons. They work, taking away these cartoon characters that are sort of polluting kids' minds about what's healthy and what's not. That's information. Also, dietary guideline committees, making sure they take on the issue of ultra-processing. And then the fourth thing is interest, getting rid of conflict of interest in terms of advisory committees to government, in terms of other bodies and researchers, actually. Researchers that are paid by industry to look at benefits or the harms of products will, not always, not every single one, but in the aggregate, will show a significant systematic bias towards the industry. So that has to be, science has to be independent, it's clear.
Another part of this ideal system is transparency. Gillespie believes that publicly available information needs to be a foundational component of the guidelines put in place. The company's lobbying practices and the reporting of their investment portfolios, sales, and marketing behaviors.
And then there's a revolving door between politicians and corporations that has to be stopped. You know, we can't have politicians choosing not to do anything about this problem because they see the potential of a nice job later on with Coca-Cola or Nestle. So I think all this has to clarify it in terms of the direction and not just the pledges and promises and commitments. We hear them all the time. Action, not words. And therefore, there has to be independent verification of the way in which portfolios and the investments are changing in companies to prioritize people and planet. There are certain ways that can be done depending to some extent on the corporation and what they're actually doing. But at the moment, what we have is a free-for-all. They can do what they like pretty much.
Some governments have begun to talk about this issue. In fact, the UK published a policy paper on a food strategy for England earlier this year. It aims to build a future where food is healthy, affordable, and accessible. However, this effort has included representatives from a few major food corporations, a choice that Gillespie says will reduce this plan into nothing more than another well-intentioned failure.
On the planning board, we have various large corporations sitting there, and they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be on the planning strategy development. So we'll see, but some of the same old mistakes of the past seem to be there, but there's a lot of public demand now for much more transparency and accountability.
That doesn't mean there's no spot for industry at the table, but Gillespie argues that they shouldn't be involved until much later in the process.
You don't need industry there because industry it's cross purposes. You have two different purposes there. When you have two different purposes, you pollute the discourse. And the two different purposes are profit and health, if you like. And what we need is people around the table who share the same purpose, the same goal. Industry then can come in later to say, okay, once that's been decided what the strategy looks like, a set of actions to move in that direction, to implement the strategy, then you bring in industry, say, right, you can come in now, tell us how you as the industry can best implement or operate with these guidelines and these guardrails to ensure you can make some profit, but also ensure there's healthy and planetary and human is protected.
Despite the overwhelming presence of the current unrestricted system, Gillespie thinks that these parameters will be respected by industry. In fact, once there's a clear set of standards to work within, he believes the companies can once again flourish, just not at the expense of their consumers.
The thing that's happening now is innovation has been driven by the logic of the system that we've had so far. And that means innovation tends to be technological and it tends to be focused on maximizing profit. It's not about improving the healthiness. Once you reset the system, innovation follows a different logic. Innovation will have to say, okay, so it could be social innovation, not just technological innovation. The innovation literally means something new that is beneficial. That will, again, move more towards people and planet, towards human health, towards planetary health than we've ever had before. They're good at that. They have the money to be able to move in that direction. They just don't have any incentives to do that right now because they're making a lot of money out of doing what they've done for the last 15 odd years.
One of the arguments against this innovation, especially in America, is freedom. The ability to operate within a free market where consumers can decide what they want to put in their bodies. If you want to eat ultra-processed food, that should be your decision, no matter how unhealthy it may be. But Gillespie counters that with the historical precedents for government interfering with personal freedom to protect large-scale public health.
Kids can't buy cigarettes, they can't buy alcohol. We have, standards of sanitation, all these things have been done to protect public health. The same applies to a junk food, saturated food environment. And that's the role, and it's a large-scale issue, massive issue of human health. That's the role of the government to act to do that. And within that, industry will find its way to survive or not, perhaps. But that's the new world that we're all going to be living in. And it should be a better world with regard to the healthiness of our diets.
Aside from the UK's food strategy, other countries have begun to institute policies that are making progress.
In Chile, there was a great senator, Guido Girardi, who did great things, who brought in the black octagon labels on harmful products or products high in fat, salt and sugar. Colombia is the first country to bring in a junk food tax, not just a soda tax, but a junk food tax. The problem, and all the kind of actions that could be done and have been seen to be successful in different places, could be brought together. And I do actually believe that 2 + 2 = 5 when you do this. I think you'd get this interaction effect that is almost always positive. So on top, it's not just additive. So if you have 4 interventions, you do them all at once, it's not just the impact from the 4, you get something else. It's very rarely that you're going to get antagonistic sort of interactions. They're going to be positive interactions. So you have potential to move from vicious cycles to virtuous cycles by doing things together.
So while we're still in the early days of building awareness and creating action, Gillespie is hopeful that we can shift the food industry and craft a system that works with consumers and upholds health standards.
I'm not advocating for banning ultra-processed food. It's about balance. And it will take a while to get there. I'm not naive enough to think these things happen overnight. But in the next 5 to 10 years, definitely we can see some real kind of traction.
Gillespie's book, Food Fight, is available now. You can find more information about Stuart Gillespie and all of our guests on our website, ingoodhealthpodcast.org. For more behind the scenes, follow In Good Health Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. Our production manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Greg Johnson.